Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the very moment you open your heart is the exact moment some people start to walk away? Not because you did anything wrong, but because your depth threatened their emotional shallowness. This isn't about being too much. It's about finally seeing who's not enough. So before you blame yourself for someone's fading interest, stay with me. Because what you're about to hear will change how you see love, loss, and your own worth. Forever. Being emotionally attached to someone is not a crime. It's not a flaw, a weakness, or a vulnerability you need to hide. It is, in fact, a sign of strength. The courage to open your heart and let someone in. In a world where so many play games and keep their guard up, you chose to feel deeply. You chose to connect on a level beyond physical attraction or casual conversations. And that's brave. That takes self-awareness, compassion, and emotional intelligence. That is the name of the game. Being emotionally attached. And that's where a weakness is. An emotional intelligence. And that's where a weakness. Communication, emotional intelligence. That's where a weakness. The problem isn't your emotional depth. The problem lies in a society that celebrates detachment and mislabels emotional honesty as desperation. Never shrink your feelings to fit into someone else's limitations. When a man pulls away after you start showing your heart, you might begin to question yourself. Was I too much? Did I move too fast? Was I wrong for caring? These are the questions that haunt many women who are emotionally sincere. But the truth is, your sincerity isn't the issue. Their discomfort with emotional intimacy is. Too many men have been conditioned to crave pursuit, but fear presence. They fall in love with the idea of being wanted, but shy away when that desire becomes real. They aren't ready to be seen, to be vulnerable, to show up fully. And when you do, it challenges them. That challenge makes them retreat, not because of your flaw, but because of their fear. Your emotions are not burdens. They are your superpower. Feeling deeply means you are capable of love, empathy, and connection at a level that most people are terrified of. If someone withdraws when they see that level of truth in you, it's not your cue to become colder. It's not a signal to numb yourself just to fit into someone's idea of what is cool or casual. You are not made for small talk and surface-level intimacy. You were born to experience connection in its rawest, most powerful form. That's not something to apologize for. That's something to honor, to protect, to celebrate. You are not too emotional. You are just too real for someone who's only pretending. We live in a world where emotional unavailability is glorified. People think being detached is being strong, but true strength is in allowing yourself to feel without fear. When a man starts to pull away the moment you express your emotions, it's not because you made a mistake. It's because he wasn't prepared for something genuine. He wasn't ready to face his own emotions, let alone hold space for yours. So instead of blaming yourself, take it as a sign. A sign that your emotional depth deserves someone with emotional capacity. Someone who won't flinch when things get real. Let's stop demonizing emotional attachment. Let's stop acting like falling for someone is something to be ashamed of. You are not a fool for caring. You are not naive for dreaming of something deeper. And just because it didn't work out with someone who couldn't match your emotional rhythm doesn't mean you're broken. It means you tried. You were authentic. You showed up with your full heart. That's not weakness. That's self-respect. That's integrity. That's power. And one day someone will look at that and say, "Thank God you didn't hide that from me." There's this lie that says if you show emotion too soon, you'll scare people away. But let's be real. If your truth scares someone off, let them go. Love is not meant to be calculated. It's not a strategy or a checklist. It's supposed to be felt. And if a man disappears when you start feeling, then he was only ever there for the idea of you, not the reality. The reality is, you're going to feel, you're going to get attached, you're going to hope. And that's beautiful. That's what makes you alive. Don't kill that part of you to keep someone who only liked the surface. It's tempting to blame yourself when someone pulls away. To think maybe if I were colder, quieter, more detached, maybe then he would have stayed. But that's not love. That's self-erasure. And you should never have to erase yourself to be loved. Real love doesn't require you to shrink. It asks you to expand. It invites you to be exactly who you are, and then goes deeper. If someone exits your life after you let them in emotionally, they were never meant to hold that space to begin with. Let them go with grace, and trust that your heart knows. You were not made to perform emotional detachment just to be liked. You weren't designed to be half present in hopes that someone might choose you. You are meant to feel, to love, to express. And if someone doesn't value that, they are not aligned with your truth. Let them move on. Let them drift. But don't let them take your light with them. You are still worthy of love that stays. Love that listens. Love that embraces your heart, not runs from it. Don't confuse their exit as a reflection of your worth. It's simply a reflection of their readiness. What you offer: emotional depth, loyalty, presence, and care is rare. And rare things are often misunderstood by those who are used to the superficial. When you get attached, you offer a bond, not a game. And that scares people who are only looking for something temporary. But just because someone didn't value your emotional truth doesn't mean you should stop offering it. The right person will not only understand it, they will treasure it. They will hold space for it. They will match your depth with their own. Wait for that. You deserve that. So don't let one man's confusion make you question your emotional identity. Don't turn your heart into a stone just because someone else didn't know how to hold it. You are not too much. You are not dramatic. You are simply honest about what you feel. And honesty is rare. Keep being rare. Keep being real. Because somewhere out there is someone who isn't afraid of emotions, but is craving them. Someone who's tired of games and ready for soul. You don't need to change to be loved. You just need to be seen by someone capable of loving deeply. Attraction is powerful, but it's not the same as commitment. We live in a world that romanticizes the spark, the thrill of the first message, the late-night conversations, the butterflies when you see their name pop up. But sparks don't build homes. Chemistry might ignite a connection, but it cannot sustain it. Many people confuse momentary excitement with long-term interest. They love the beginning, the chase, the mystery. But when emotional depth appears, they start to pull away. My consensus that emotional depth appears, they start to pull away. That's because real connection demands presence. It asks you to stay when things become uncomfortable, and not everyone is ready for that. Sometimes, someone will seem so into you at first, texting, calling, chasing, giving you attention. But then, just as quickly, the energy shifts. The replies slow down, the interest fades, and you're left wondering what changed. The truth is, nothing changed in you. What changed was the illusion they built in their mind. Once they were confronted with your emotional presence, it became too real for them. The fantasy ended, and they realized they weren't equipped to handle what they once claimed to want. This isn't your failure. It's a reflection of their readiness and emotional maturity. What many don't understand is that emotional intimacy requires more than attraction. It asks for self-awareness, patience, communication, and courage. It's easy to be excited about someone when everything is light, fun, and non-threatening. But the moment real feelings enter the picture, people with unresolved wounds begin to panic. They don't know how to be vulnerable, so they retreat. Not because you did anything wrong, but because vulnerability demands emotional labor. And emotional labor feels heavy to those who haven't done it themselves, so they distance themselves instead of leaning in, and you're left holding the weight of that silence. It's important to recognize that chemistry can be misleading. Just because someone makes your heart race doesn't mean they're capable of walking with you emotionally. Just because there's an intense connection doesn't mean there's depth. Sometimes, the most passionate beginnings are only there to teach us what isn't sustainable. You cannot build a healthy bond on adrenaline and infatuation alone. When someone starts to lose interest after emotions come into play, it's not because the connection was never real. It's because they never intended for it to go deeper. They only came for the high, not the healing. This is where boundaries come in. It's not your job to convince someone to stay just because you've become emotionally involved. Your worth isn't measured by their attention span. It's measured by how you honor your feelings even when someone else doesn't. You are not here to be consumed and discarded like a trend. You are here to be chosen, cherished, and emotionally met. If someone shows you they were only interested in the surface, believe them. Let them go. Don't lower your expectations just to keep a shallow connection alive. What's meant for you will meet you where you are, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. The worst thing you can do is chase someone who only loved the idea of you. Because the moment you showed up fully, with hopes, dreams, fears, and love, they stepped back. That tells you everything. They weren't here for the real you. They were here for the version of you that fit their narrative. They liked the mystery, not the meaning. They liked the story, not the soul. You owe it to yourself to recognize that and walk away with dignity, because the right one won't be overwhelmed by your truth. They'll be inspired by it. Relationships built only on passion are like fireworks, bright, intense, and over far too quickly. Real connections are like firewood, steady, warm, and long-lasting. So don't let a spark fool you into believing it's a fire. Take time to see if someone shows up after the excitement wears off. See if they're still present when you're vulnerable, not just when you're fun and flirtatious. Anyone can show up during the highlight reel. What matters is who stays through the quiet, the ordinary, the uncomfortable. That's where love really begins. That's where emotional safety is born. It's easy to blame yourself when someone walks away after emotional intimacy enters the room. But remember, your feelings did not ruin anything. Your honesty did not push them away. Their inability to reciprocate is not your shame to carry. Stop rewriting your story to accommodate someone who wasn't ready. Let your emotions be seen as strength, not something to be hidden to remain desirable. You don't need to be less in order to be loved. You need someone who sees more of you and still chooses to stay, especially when things stop being easy. You are not too intense. You are not too emotional. You are not too invested. You are just someone who refuses to settle for half-hearted connection. That is something to be proud of. Anyone who loses interest when things get real was never ready to build something meaningful with you. Let that be a blessing, not a heartbreak. You dodged the pain of dragging someone through a relationship they weren't emotionally prepared for. Protect your peace. Keep your standards. You are not asking for too much. You're asking the wrong person to give what they cannot offer. So when a man loses interest after you start showing your heart, don't chase him. Don't beg for attention. Don't become smaller, and don't second guess your decision to feel. You did the right thing by being emotionally present. Now it's his turn to show whether he's capable of matching that depth. And if he walks away, let him. You are not here to teach someone how to value connection. You are here to find someone who already does. Someone who wants to go deep, stay grounded, and love with intention. Until then, stay rooted in your truth. The spark will fade, but what's real always remains. Every time you get emotionally attached, you grow. Even when it ends in disappointment, even when the other person pulls away, even when you're left wondering what went wrong, you still evolve.